may find that you've just got to round the very sharp corners on them, and possibly fill the screw holes with silicone. If you get worried that you think the pair of headlamps that will give you a both left-hand drive, that is correct, they've both got a left hand on them. That means that they do dip to the left, not the right, as if he was on the continent. You'll find that if an examiner was to fail you on the louvers and the bonnet because of the sharp edges, because of the height of the louvers and the fact that they are grilled and they are exempt. Remember, the road wheels are exempt, so even though they've got corners on them that are less than 6 mil, because the road wheels are exempt, everything that's inside the wheel in the way of the caliper and all the suspension is also exempt. Remember though that if you put these wheels on as a spare wheel, then it becomes part of the body and you become unstuck because of the sharp corners on the wheels and don't fit the spare wheel. Most tyres that you're going to buy new now will have the correct markings on them. I'm not going to go into the markings on tyres because that's a minefield area. But you'll find the ones that we supply, the Yokohama tyres, are correct. Remember, even if your tyres are bald, they will still pass the SBA test. That's the ironic thing. And on that subject, just remember that different licensing authorities, some of them do require an MOT test in addition to the SBA test to get your car on the road. So I feel that these SBA examiners should be offering you an MOT test as well. So you'll save yourself a lot of pain at the end of the SBA test. Ask them to MOT it, there'll be an extra fee for that. It'll save you going back to the MOT station afterwards. Most silencers that you'll buy from people like Robin Hood or lower cost will comply with SBA regulations in the way of the noise for a standard engine. However, if you've got a very highly tuned engine that throws out more brake horsepower than say 125, then you may find that even our silencers are out of range. If you point the silencer to the ground, it will help you an awful lot. We're going to look now at some of the finer points on the car and just remind you about them. Probably you can see now that the dashboard's turned out okay. After Oswald ruining the initial dashboard, you'll see that with the yellow fascia you put on there, it has done the trick, and I think it's enhanced the interior of the car. You'll see that the steering wheel that's available from Robin Hood is the perfect size for this car, and you'll also see that with the column switches and the plastic covers from the Ford Sierra, that this part of the car looks in order. You can see that the way they've put the snap-on trim around the dashboard has just disguised that row of louvers, that row of pop rivets, so that's made that look quite neat and quite tidy. You can probably see from behind that they put the yellow tadpole beading around the finisher for the windscreen. Again, that looks quite neat. And towards the gear lever, you can see they've used the original Ford Sierra gaiter on there, and they've cut down the gear stick. Again, that looks quite attractive. As we whiz round and look at the seats, these are seats that's come from Robin Hood, very, very budget. There aren't an awful lot left, but they can be purchased direct from low cost. The harnesses are the standard harnesses that low cost sell, Sabel harnesses. Remember, when you buy these from us, you get all the fixing bolts as well. Again, you can see you can get high back seats that the position for these fixing bolts will be perfect. That is quite a substantial roll bar, again, that's fitted to the car. You can see that's part of the kit. It's back braced and it does enhance the strength of the body shell, and it clearly gives you the protection you need should you roll the car over. You can probably see that the plastic Luggage compartment cover set has tidied up the back of the car quite nicely, covered up a lot of the screws, and although Michael and Paul have only fastened that lid on with 4 self-tapping screws, then a little bit of time spent, you could get quite a good lid that would open up, probably lock and everything, that would give you a limited amount of luggage space in there, even though the tank is in there. The filler cap looks quite neat there. That's a lower cost item, and that's available from lower cost. You can see that when we've polished up the aluminium on the edge of the back wings, they've masked off the strip, and to get the burnt plastic off the very edge, we've polished that up. So you can imagine that if you had got time, you could get the whole of the body polished up like that. It would keep you and your small son out of mischief for a long time. And you can see, although when you first looked at those flat pack wings, they looked a bit daunting, but now that they're on, you've got the tadpole beading around them, they do look quite professional, very neat, and they do the perfect size of the wheels that we've supplied. The stainless steel stone guard also, that's been fitted very well by the 2 lads, and the yellow beading that goes around it has enhanced that. The silencer, I would have liked to see it point a little bit more towards the ground, but we'll see when it goes for the SPA test whether or not it is acceptable. We'll see this has got the radius end on it, and it really wants snap-on edge around the front and the back to comply with the regulations. They've used the Robin Hood or low-cost rubber bobbins to fix it to the car, and you can see that very neatly spaced out those bobbins with some ordinary washers, and again that looks neat and quite purposeful, and we've got a correct gap between the body and the silencer. As we move forward, you'll see that they've got the standard exhaust clip. I would have liked to have seen that rotated a few degrees so that it didn't stick out so much, and it was pointing more towards the ground. It could just squeeze past the SPA regulations. And the manifold, the 4-branch manifold, you can see that very precisely exits through the hole in the body of which to put the snap-on trim around. That's an excellent manifold, a free-flow manifold, will add a couple of brake horsepower to the engine. The snap-on trim to be put around that. I want to just remind you that this gets very, very hot. It gets near red hot, and it always worries me a little bit that it's not part of the regulations, the SVA test, to have this protected. So just remember, if there is only you and your mate around the car, then you'll remember you only burn your leg one side. So try not to burn your leg at all. I'm very concerned about small animals, children and small animals, that they're warned not to go near it. So just remember that manifold does get hot. The mini trim, the plastic mini trim we've got around the edge of the bonnet, front and rear, just tie that up and finishes that off. As we go towards the front of the car, the boys have made a very good job of fitting the nose cone. It's always a difficult thing to fit. They made a good job fitting the nose cone. It's always a difficult thing to fit, and they put the badge, the Robin Hood badge. Remember, that's a suggestion in the middle. People often think it's a defect in the fiberglass, but that little bit in the middle is for the badge to go on there. And they've trimmed off the lower edge of the nose cone, probably taking a 3/4 inch off it. So that still looks neat and purposeful, and they've put the flasher lamps, the motorcycle flasher lamps, in the correct position. So that nose cone looks good, looks original. As we swing toward the wings, we're a little bit concerned that possibly they've taken too much of a bite out around the wing brackets, but now that they've put the snap-on trim all the way around the wings and underneath, made it one piece continual, and underneath the brackets, again, even though they're not the wide wings, they're the standard 8-inch wings, they cover the tyre adequately, and that looks very neat. You can see that they've got the nylon lock nuts on the end of the front suspension spindles. They'll need some plastic caps, and then they'll need to put some kind of protection around the ends of those box sections. Drive shaft gaiters with cable ties around them are the best thing to put on those front boxes. As we look at the wishbones, I've got reservations about the blue colour with the yellow, but they're there. They look neat, tidy. I think we'd like to see possibly a different colour scheme on those. As we look in there, we can see possibly the new calipers that's there and the new discs. All that is what people want to see. It's all budget. These are available from Robin Hood. Still remember, you've got the flexi brake pipes to put on, and those of you may want to push the boat out and put on braided hoses. That's up to you, but remember that they've got to clear on full lock both ways, not to foul the components and not to be overstretched. The grill's been painted matte black. It could have been silver, but that has fitted quite well. Lots of people want to put a logo on the grill. Through the grill you can see the Max Cool radiator and of course our electric fan in there suspended perfectly. The number plate will be just below the grill, and that is the correct place for it. As we look at the front suspension again, the ball joints and the track arms from the rack, they haven't been painted at all, so remember you have to paint those. And a little bit of grease on the threads of the coilovers will stop those going rusty.